The Ohio State Buckeyes and Ryan Day have been absolutely killing it in the transfer portal. Just this past weekend, landing the top quarterback from the 2024 recruiting class, Julian Sayin, after he was signed to Alabama. Nick Saban retires, ends up wanting to go somewhere else, ends up in Columbus, and then Friday night landing the top player in the transfer portal, also from Tuscaloosa, in Caleb Downs, who's going to be a dog for you at safety. And this is all, again, after landing Quinshon Judkins, who for some people's money is the best running back in college football, Will Howard, who's got a Big 12 title to his name playing at Kansas State. So they've crushed it in the transfer portal. How are they doing this? Why are they doing this? What does Caleb Downs and Julian Sayin bring to the party? Also, a lot of people all of a sudden having strong opinions on NIL and its place in college football as it pertains to Ohio State. We'll break it all down right now. First things first, make sure you're subscribed right here. Ohio State fans, man, we've had a lot of y'all join the party in the last couple of days. We're glad to have y'all here. When I say join the party, I mean subscribe to the channel. We are live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, full hour-long episodes of this show, The Hard Count, right here on this platform on the On3 YouTube channel. I promise you. Tomorrow, we will talk more Ohio State, so make sure you're dialed in at 11 a.m. Eastern, subscribing the best way to make sure you don't miss it. So like I said, killing it in the portal. Julian Sayin, Caleb Downs, you know all the names that they've landed here to this point so far if you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan. A lot of talent. They've beefed up the roster quite a bit in some really key areas. To me, for Ryan Day and what he's doing right now, it's a couple of things. First, all in. Like, if there were any extra pressure in Columbus, he's now taking it and putting it on his football team by having this roster that is competing for a national championship. It is national title or bust. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's always the standard in Columbus. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win national championships. Haven't done that the last couple of years. This year, with the roster they have, no excuses. Full steam ahead. That's the approach right now, and that's what the expectation is, cranked up even more by nature of what they've done in the transfer portal. Okay, so with great roster ability comes great responsibility. All right, we're all on the same page there. Other part of this, Ryan Day and the way that Ohio State is attacking the transfer portal, the way they're beefing this roster up, to me is a lot like whenever you're packing a suitcase and it's all the way packed in to where you have to sit on the suitcase to zip it up. Like you just have that thing absolutely packed. You're not sure if it'll make it past TSA with the weight of that suitcase. It's probably well over 50 pounds. But it's one of those things where it's like you just need to have that many things so you don't need something when you're on your trip. For Ohio State, their trip is to win a national championship. That is how are they defining success in 2024, 2025. That's the goal. And to be honest, you don't know what it's going to take to get there. You have an idea. You think you know. You think you know the forecast. Think you know the ultimate travel plan. But the reality is you don't know. So the term need kind of gets thrown out the window. It's more of just anticipatory. Do you need another safety? Sonny Styles, he's back. Lathan Ransom, he's back. Denzel Burke, you got a great secondary. Are you going to need another safety? I don't know, but it definitely helps you to have another safety, the top player in the transfer portal from Caleb Downs. Do you need another quarterback? I mean, you got Will Howard to be your starter for next year. At the very least, you provide some more depth. We'll talk more about Julian Sayin here in a little bit. Do you need another running back? Travion Henderson, we know what he is when he's healthy. Adding Quinshon Judkins might need some depth along the way. That might help things. So it's not so much about need as much as it is, hey, we don't know what it's going to take here, but we're packing for success. We are going to make sure we give ourselves the very best chance possible by the way that we build this roster, by players that we add to go and accomplish our goal of winning a national championship. So more power to Ryan Day. I absolutely love it. Speaking about these two guys, they just added Caleb Downs and Julian Sayin. What do they bring to the table? Let's start with Caleb Downs. I have said since the beginning of his recruitment via the transfer portal, which to be fair wasn't all that long, he is a thermostat kind of player, is Caleb Downs. And what I mean by that is whenever he walks into the weight room for a workout, whenever he walks into the meeting room for a position group meeting, whenever he walks onto the field for practice drills, he is the kind of guy that sets the temperature competitively and intensity-wise. And what that does is it allows you to operate at the highest degree when it comes to how you execute in those specific situations, from meetings to workouts. And let's be real here. National championships, games in general in the fall, yes, you won them on the field and you have to play and execute and all those things, but they're won behind closed doors. They're won during winter conditioning. They're won during those position drills when the coaches aren't on the field and you got to get it on your own with your own position group. That's when you win games. And so Caleb Downs setting the temperature at a certain standard because he's pulling the very best out of himself What that's going to do, that's going to pull the very best out of whoever's in his vicinity. So what that does to the level of play for everyone on this roster, because it's contagious, it just continues to ramp it up until you have a championship standard across the board. They already have that in Columbus, but Caleb Downs is only going to add to that, and I think in some ways intensify that. Not to mention the fact that he's a super complete player, is an active tackler, not afraid to get in the box and mix it up as a true freshman, led Alabama in tackles. Y'all, that's ridiculous, especially the safety position. Great ball skills. I mean, you saw him make several plays on the football. I mean, you saw an interception in the Rose Bowl against Michigan that ended up counting. Had 2 interceptions during the regular season. Like, dude is a football player. Instinctual. You're going to be able to move him around in the defense if you're Jim Knowles. Like, he is someone now that if you want to try and disguise some coverages or try and add him in for tackling purposes or insurance for tackling in the box, rather, he can get that done for you. He is a do-it-all kind of player. He's complete in every sense of the word, Caleb Downs, the top player in the transfer portal at safety for a reason. And to reemphasize, top player in the transfer portal regardless of position. So that's Caleb Downs for you. Now, Julian Sayin was someone that I think Ohio State fans were hopeful they would be able to add. But again, you talk about need, like this quarterback room is stacked. Will Howard is your starter next year. There's no negotiation going on there. He's your guy. You brought him in for a reason. He's going to start next year. However, behind that, you got Devin Brown, you got Lincoln Kienholz, you got Aaron Noland, who's also one of the top quarterbacks from the 2024 cycle, and now you have Julian Sayin. So the thought was, are they really going to bring another quarterback in there? And obviously they have, and I think this is a positive. Like anytime you add talent to your room at the right places, that's a net positive. At the very worst case, you're adding depth. Another talented arm is going to push that room, and if the very worst case scenario were to fall upon Ohio State where they have a bunch of injuries and bad things happen, like you can go to Julian Sayin and at least have a talented quarterback in there for you. That would be the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is, like I said, you add talent to the room, and specifically in that 2024 quarterback derby between Aaron Noland and Julian Sayin, you're going to have them bring the best out of each other, iron sharpening iron, competing every single day. And there's one thing between going against each other and being able to go rep for rep and try and one-up each other during practice, and that's great. You get better that way. But also being able to handle competitive pressure in a closed-door setting, I think the value on that, you can't put a price tag on. And what I mean by that is, if I'm Aaron Noland, when I take a rep, I want to make sure that it counts and that I execute to the very best of my ability, because the guy who I will have to beat out for the job at some point in time is taking that very next rep after me. Same thing for Julian Sayin. He's going to feel the pressure of Aaron Noland and his presence on the field as much as Aaron Noland will feel Julian Sayin's presence. And in that way, it sort of creates this pressure that's consistent with having to play quarterback at the Ohio State, man. Like, it's pretty much the most visible position in the sport in that state, or most visible position in that state, period, rather, outside of being the head coach at Ohio State. Like, there's a lot of pressure. So to be familiar with pressure during practice, throughout the course of the year, by nature of competition with someone in your class, I think it's a net positive. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out here throughout both of their careers in Columbus. And spring football will be a lot of fun to watch for the good folks in Columbus, watching their quarterbacks get after it. Between those two, and then Kienholz, Brown, Will Howard, it's going to be a clinic on all fronts, watching those dudes slinging around during practice. So here's what I want to make sure we get to now. There's a lot of folks that have an issue with how Ohio State is going after the portal right now. And anytime you hear people say, well, they just got him for NIL. It was just an NIL play. They threw him a bag, and that's why they landed that player. One, I would say, not a good look to yell about being broke. Let's maybe be a little bit more lowering our voice when we speak about stuff like that, all right? The other part of this is, let's just say, for example, that Ohio State put an attractive NIL package together to land some of these top guys through the transfer portal. Let's just say that's the case. Is that not just money well spent? Is that not just a good investment by Ohio State to bring top talent to their university to try and accomplish their goals as a football team? Let's put it in a different context. If I said, hey, there's this GoFundMe that you can give to, and the more money that gets, the better our odds are of beating Michigan, of beating Penn State, of winning the Big Ten, of competing for national championships. That thing would blow up. that thing would blow up. I mean, let's be real here. So the same thing is happening now in Columbus with them landing top talent. But the difference is when you talk about allocating resources, attracting top talent via the transfer portal, people have an issue with it. And I understand it's different from how college football maybe has been in the past on the surface, but in reality, y'all, like, this is college football now. Either use NIL to your advantage or have it used against you. And so I say for Ohio State, whatever they're using in the NIL front and however they're getting it done, like, more power to them. If you attracted Caleb Downs because of NIL, and again, I'm assuming there's more than just NIL playing into this, but even if there's not, more power to them to go and land the top player in the transfer portal, to go and land the top quarterback from the 2024 cycle. More power to Ohio State for using the portal, because here's the deal, man. Everybody is using NIL today. Everyone. Ohio State, I don't think, is an exception, but they're the one that's getting the most buzz right now because of the players they're landing. Everyone's using NIL. This is college football. Again, either use it or have it used against you when it comes to NIL. So Ohio State participating and winning in portal combat. Caleb Downs, Julian Sayin, Quinshon Judkins, Will Howard, like, they're rolling. That's not all the names, but those are some of the high-profile names. And here's the thing, y'all. I don't think they're done. So keep an eye on the Buckeyes. They're going to be a force. If I had to pick today, I'd have a difficult time not picking Ohio State to be in that college football playoff championship, in that college football playoff final rather than the national championship. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep an eye on the Buckeyes. Again, that's not our official pick, but just kind of today how we feel about it. So keep an eye on the Buckeyes. A lot of big names headed to Columbus. Make sure you're subscribed. Live on the air tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Want y'all a part of it. Get in the live chat. We'll have a real good time. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Pickell. Let me know how you feel about Ohio State and their portal combat. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.